Good morning, everyone. Get in for the final time. We are talking about PSR. This is the last video you are going to hear, and it feels like Christmas for me because I'm sick to death of banging on about PSR. And this is the final time we're going to talk about it. So join me in celebrating this occasion. We now know the end of this transfer saga. We needed to make sales before the end of June. We know what players are going out the door now, and we can start off by talking about the fact that Gordon is staying, Isak is staying, Bruno is staying, our key players are staying, and nobody in our starting 11 is leaving, which is the first major point I wanted to bring up now. I never expected the likes of Gordon to leave, but you got to look at the fact that articles did come out. Newcastle were desperate to sell according to Craig Hope. Now, I stated this in my video yesterday and I stated again. I think Newcastle has purposely taught Craig Hope this, so when the news comes out about what players are leaving, it doesn't feel like a blow, because in your mind you think that likes of Gordon could leave even though they're never supposed to leave. I almost feel like it's a bit of a PR tactic from Newcastle to basically stop any fan outrage by having an even bigger story that was published by journalists where you got the impression that Gordon might leave, but he just was never ever going to leave. If that makes any sense. But we now know Yankuba Minteh, as expected, is going out the door. He will join Brighton. He's already spoken to the manager and he will undergo his medical today. But what I didn't expect is Elliot Anderson will join him because he is leaving to go to Nottingham Forest. That one has caught me by surprise. If I had to predict anyone, it would have been Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson has survived PSR. I didn't see that one coming. Callum Wilson, for now, will not leave Newcastle United. I still believe he will go in this window. I don't think he'll stay. I don't think he'll play for us again. But I'm surprised he hasn't left yet. It hasn't happened yet. And that one caught me off guard. But anyway, guys, if you're new around here, make sure you get down there, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button as well if you enjoy. Conflicting comments from fans about the two sales. And I'll start off with Elliot Anderson because that was the one that I didn't expect to happen. Now, Elliot Anderson will leave the Nottingham Forest for around £10 million, which is not a lot of money. It's a shame as well because I remember, especially when I travelled across to America last pre-season, Elliot Anderson was just levels ahead of every single player on our team. He looked so good and I had such high hopes of his potential coming into the team. Yes, he's had injuries. Yes, some things haven't went his way. But his progression at Newcastle United has been slow. It just hasn't been quick enough for the club that we are now. Under Mike Ashley, this would have been fine. But the problem now is that we are wanting to reach such high levels. Elliot Anderson just hasn't progressed as well as we would hope that he would. Especially when you look at the likes of Lewis Miley. So Lewis Miley is just, 5 times the player Anderson is, and he's such a young age as well. Anderson, for me, I like him, but you got to look at the fact that he barely got any game time for us last season, and that's before Sandro Tonali comes back in, so that's even less game time for Elliot Anderson. He's someone where it doesn't change anything. Selling this guy doesn't change anything. It's sad, yes. I know some people want to see him succeed. I want to see him succeed, but the reality is, he doesn't change the team. Selling him does not matter for us. And Nottingham Forest are one of the favourites to go back down to the Championship anyway. So let's say Elliot Anderson has a good time at Nottingham Forest. They go down. If we wanted to, we can just go back in and buy the guy. We can quite literally go back in and buy him. I think it's a player that, if he does succeed at Forest, which I hope he does, by the way, there's nothing stopping Newcastle from just going back in a year or two's time and going, hello Forest, we want to buy Elliot. I know it's not obviously ideal for a club to sell it and buy back, but if you have to do that for the PSR sales, then maybe we will. But I don't think Anderson will play for us again, all honesty, unless he did have an incredible career at Nottingham Forest. But it's more likely than not that he'll just float around, and I just don't see us getting him back. And he's not a player that I miss. That's the brutal truth to it. I'm not going to miss this guy play. It's sad. I want to see him succeed, but we have to understand that we've got to sell some players. We have to sell someone, and I'd much rather it be him than one of our key hitters. Anderson, for me, is not a bad sale. I think it's actually a good sale. The only problem being is that, especially with Minteh as well, that we are selling to Premier League teams. Ideally, I would have wanted these players to move abroad. I would have wanted them to be outside the Premier League. So the fact that we are selling to Premier League teams, I know Forest isn't a great team, but it still could be a case that Elliot Anderson then comes back and plays against us and scores against us. That's the one thing I don't want to see happen. So it's a bit of a shame that we haven't been able to sell him abroad. And Minteh's the big one because, well, £33 million now. The mental part is that is actually one of our highest sales ever in our club history on a player who has never played for us. This kid has never put that black and white shirt on. So the fact that we have sold him for such a high amount of money is impressive. Some problems being is that in an ideal world, I would have wanted the Leon move. So Everton wanted him, it didn't happen. Leon wanted him. Minteh did not want to go to League One, he wanted to play in the Premier League, so that didn't happen. Then Brighton came in for him, and finally Brighton is the team that has secured him for £33 million. And on top of that as well, Brighton's a team that has also always been able to get the best out of young players. So if Minteh's going to succeed, Brighton's probably the perfect club for him to go to. So on a horrible point of view now, as a Newcastle fan, I actually want this kid to fail. I feel so bad saying it, but I'm going to feel awful if this kid becomes the next big thing. It's going to feel like such a massive loss in our point of view. So in a horrible negative way, I don't want this kid to do well for that sole reason. But in all honesty though, he's made us a lot of money. We bought him for £7 million. He was never a player that was meant to play for Newcastle, in my opinion. He was always a player that was going to be loaned out, a bit like Grant Cure, just loaned out for the sake of making money. It was just a player that's there for PSR checks. When the opportunity comes, we make profit on him. And we've made such a mental amount of profit on him. And Elliot Anderson as well is a homegrown player, so he's pure profit to add on to his sale. So we have made a significant amount of money, which would then clear up PSR sales. And that now means that before we even looked at the likes of Wilson, Almiron, Trippier, we already have money there. We have money there that will go into players. And that is before we saw some more potential bigger players. So Newcastle have a lot to play around with, and it's going to make things nice for us once the Euros and once the Copa America are over, where transfers are available. Newcastle now have sought 2 players that have got nothing to do with our start 11, have got nothing to do with our bench. These are players that will be sitting inside the club, and we've got £43 million to the pair with them. I think that's good business. I think it's good business. I know some of you guys may disagree, and some of you guys may be thinking, oh, one, why has it took us this long to make sales, and 2, why have we got to sell Minteh, why have we got to sell Anderson? These players just aren't going to play for us at this moment in time. They might have played us for us in the future if they've done well, but it just wouldn't have played for us now. We have to understand now. We have to look at the club now, and I would much rather sell these players than I like to Gordon or Bruno. And it's like, you guys know this. You don't need me to bang on and tell you guys that you know that yourself. So I think we've done well. I think we've done well from it, and it caught me by surprise. As I said before, I thought Wilson would have been the one that would have took the bullet. It hasn't happened. Wilson is staying for now. I still bank on him leaving, but I'm surprised that Wilson has not left in the PSR sales. But we'll see once the Saudi Arabian transfer market opens up. We'll see then with the likes of Wilson or Miggy leave. Obviously, Miggy didn't want to make that move in January, but would he change his mind now? And we have to understand as well that as much as we want some of these players to potentially move to these clubs, we have to also understand their point of view. Miggy has a family. Miggy didn't want to go to Saudi Arabia in January. We can't force this player out there as much as some of you guys may want that. We just can't. We can't force it. So we have to be respectful. We have to see what players want, and it's a tricky balance to make, but we have to sell these players as well. We have to also look at the best option for us, and it's a nightmare. But we just have to try our best not to sell the Premier League team, because that will do some damage to us. But considering how bad things could have been, where if Newcastle did not meet regulations for PSR, we would have faced point deductions. You hold your hand up. Minteh and Anderson for £43 million, I think is good business. I do not think that is bad at all. And I think Newcastle now finally have that breathing space where we can think, we have time to plan, we can sell the players we need to sell, and then we can buy the players that we want to buy. And that is the key word, want. It's not a panic buy, it's not a desperate purchase, it's Newcastle getting the players that they desire. And I think it's going to benefit us massively next season. I think we've done what we could with PSR, and I've got no issues with it. Some of you guys may disagree, some of you guys may want answers, some of you guys may demand stuff. I've seen some mental comments towards the owners where people are almost demanding stuff from Amanda and Murdad, but I think they've done well for what they've got to work with. You've got to remember, Dan Ashwell has screwed us over. It was meant to be his job to do all of this. He's done off last season. He's potentially breached part of his contract according to alleges made online. He's screwed us. He's screwed us big time. He's getting paid to sit home and do bugger all. We have damaged ourselves because of that. We've been in the pits because of him. So I think we've done well without him. We haven't got a director in yet, so Mad and Murdered has to do everything hands on. And I think we've done a good job with what we had to work with. And for now, Newcastle have dodged it. We have survived it, and now we can plan. Now we can look at all the options we have available and do the stuff that we want to do. I hold my hand up and I say, fair play. I've been satisfied with the result. I think they're good sales to make and I've got no complaints. So you guys may feel differently about it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Take care, and we'll see you all for the Slovakia game later on. I don't want to watch it, but we'll see you later on.